song that gets me every time. And I don't even know that Sally knew that, so that's okay. That's all right. We'll work with it. Good morning. I'm going to start with a story. So this is a story about a small girl from a small rural town in Ohio. The girl in this story was odd. This girl in this story is distinctly different from the other girls that she grew up with. This girl was full of funny ideas and had bigger than life questions. She would say things that would often get her laughed at. The girl in this story was passionately in love with God and nature and didn't mind spending hours of the day alone in the fields, under trees, or by the water's edge, just basking and taking in that omnipresence of that which is God, even if she didn't know it at the time. The small, frail girl was born full of wonder, and her yes led her down an interesting path that ultimately led to all of you. Now, a little behind the scenes hot take here. I was not your scheduled speaker for today. Okay? It was not originally my name to be on that marquee. But because I am here today speaking to all of you about Myrtle Fillmore, Christian mysticism, let me further tell you this. I didn't know much about Myrtle Fillmore, outside of what anyone else in this room likely already knows. So I had to do some homework. And I would say that it's pretty safe to say that God had a bigger plan today. There was a bigger message than just, for me anyway, to just cover Myrtle Fillmore. And I'll ask my mom to raise her hand. Cindy, who was the girl in the beginning of the story? Who was it? The little girl described in the beginning of the story reminds me of my mother, and it reminds me of me, because where Myrtle Fillmore, or Mary Caroline, was born and raised was in the same township, the same county that my mom gave birth to me in, that my mom spent time in, and that I was born in. The same small township in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, almost exactly 140 years apart. Myrtle and I was both raised with 8 or 9 siblings as well. So I'm sure my mom can attest to the fact, because she was also raised with many kids as well as I can. I know what going to the creek beds and cornfields for some silence would have been like. I too know how it was to look out. I know the sunrises, all right? I know the sunsets that would have stopped her in her tracks and had her begging her mama for just one more minute outside. I know personally what shaped her idea of God. I know what was being poured out to her in every direction in that small town in Ohio, because I saw what she saw as a small, odd, frail girl too. Now I can attest to the fact that this little slice of God's creation, and my mom could tell you all about it too in the fellowship hall, this little place of Morrow County, Ohio, does not change none too fast. Most of the roads are still dirt. Time doesn't move the same as the rest of the world out there on those low rolling hills. But it was still a different world for Myrtle to live in. I thought as a kid that was born in the late 80s that I had seen a lot, but Myrtle lived through the Civil War, the First World War, the Great Depression, the Spanish flu pandemic, and of course, as we all know, tuberculosis, all before the age of 40. If she was frail, it would have been more to imagine her like frail like a bomb, not like a flower. But there's no doubt God used those experiences to build something of genuine compassion through her. Now, I had taken a class a while back in school through Carl McColman, who's a big player and an even bigger thinker in the world of Christian mysticism. His class was one that really set me on a path of discernment about what the heck God was trying to do in my life. And he said that a mystic is not a special kind of person, but each person is a special kind of mystic. Okay. Myrtle Fillmore is, by very definition, Unity's mystic mother. It was her thoughts and her ideas, her understandings, but above all, it was her innate mystical characteristics that birthed a new way to approach what is the Christian faith. A new way of expressing and living into these grand theological ideas. She gave life to a healthy and whole way to take these things of tradition and give new meaning to them. Now, Carl McColman listed out a whole entire list of characteristics of a mystic. Mystics are virtuous. Goodness is not an optional dimension of a mystic life. It's inherent to it. And while no one is perfect, a good person takes responsibility for their lives. Myrtle believed that the concept of God the good was inherent in each person. It was just up to us to see it that way. She lived from deep compassion. Her empathy towards others is evident in her healing ministry and her compassionate interactions. Look at Silent Unity. Look at We Wisdom. It was her unconditional love towards all beings that was reflected in the divine love that she believed in. She had many poems and letters from her childhood. My love to thee, the hours I've spent with thee, dear Lord, in pearls of priceless worth to me, my soul, my being merged in sweet accord, in love for thee, in love for thee. Each hour a pearl, each pearl a prayer, finding thy presence close to me, I only know that thou art there, and I am lost in thee. O glorious joys that thrill and bless, O vision sweet of love divine, my soul its rapturous bliss can ill express, that thou art mine, O Lord, that thou art mine. You can hear her words dance in joy of that unconditional love that she was rooted and lived her life from. She also lived from a place of forgiveness. Her capacity to forgive and let go of resentments led her to embrace a path of reconciliation for her own inner peace. It's evident in our teachings on affirmations of healing. And even in her old age, the times when she was attempting to overcome old age, she said, it occurred to me to imagine just how I'd feel if I were free from it. I entered fully into the imagination of freedom and wholeness. Mystics are humble, and humility is all about being honest and authentic. Myrtle had a service-oriented mindset. Her selfless dedication to serving others, regardless of its recognition or reward, was first and foremost in her ministry. Let me draw a distinction for you as well, because I see it in Myrtle, I see it in Jesus, and I try to see it in myself. Honest and nice are possibly not the same thing when authenticity is involved. In this book, there's a story of a woman sending a very, very large amount of money to Unity Ministries, begging for a position, begging, please hire me, please let me come work for you, take all of my money. Myrtle Fillmore puts it back in an envelope and says, True happiness is only found within. She didn't take the money, nor did the woman get the position. There was a multitude of gifts that came to her. There's another story in this book of somebody giving her a very large and expensive gift. Myrtle donated it. And the person was like, "Why would you donate my expensive gift?" And Myrtle said, "If it's my gift, then I can do with it as I please." Sometimes honest and nice are not the same thing. She's not open to praise. Myrtle is a perfect example of not taking anything personally, right? She didn't take praise or otherwise to heart. Anytime that she was noticed or somebody wanted to say, any type of praise to her, she would say, "It is not me. I had nothing to do with it. It is not the Fillmores. It is the Christ. All praise to him. We are simply channels." Yeah. She had a willingness to learn. Yesterday in the board retreat and talking to the ladies, it really came to me that the key to a long life is learning. It's searching. It's moving. It's not resting in stagnation, because stagnation would equal death. Myrtle lived to be almost 90 years old. Her openness to new spiritual insight and teachings and embodying humility as a lifelong learner was reflected even into her old age. Mystics really, really recognize spiritual depth as a highly important piece of their lives, and they take their spiritual practice seriously. Our spiritual practices, our spiritual lives are not something to be taken for granted. And they're not something that can be confined in a box. The presence of God cannot be constrained by religious boundaries. A true mystic naturally recognizes this. However, as Carl McColman told us in that class that I took, mystics also know that rather than digging a lot of holes, none of which are very deep, it is better to preserve at digging one deep well to access living water. Myrtle understood this. Myrtle spent untold hours praying in her room, not just for healing, but just in prayer. And in this room, there were 2 seats, one for her and an empty seat that was filled with the Jesus Christ presence that she said continued to encourage her in her healing journey. Myrtle lived from a place of prayer and meditation, recognizing that prayer and meditation were essential tools for communing with the divine and accessing inner wisdom. We know from her example that it wasn't supplications for external intervention, but the power of affirmative prayer to transform consciousness, manifest those positive outcomes. It was in this that Myrtle cultivated that inner stillness and receptivity, allowing divine guidance to flow in her consciousness. And this time was the most sacred and precious to her. She engaged in reflective practices, pondering deeper meanings of spiritual truths and integrating them into daily life. She knew of the importance of aligning belief with principle and embodying these wisdoms in thoughts, words, and actions. So I feel like here at Unity of Syracuse, we are kind of in a place of getting back to these Myrtle basics. So I ask you, what does living a mystic life look like today? How can we apply Myrtle Fillmore's simplistic teachings to the complications of this complex modern life challenge? It's embracing the inner wisdom of our decisions and living from authentic choices, our authentic convictions, our truths, and not second guess what we're being called into. That's the mystic life. Maintaining spiritual health through regular practice and community. Is that not what this is? What are you practicing when you walk through those doors? What are you bringing to the altar of the spiritual home? What are your thoughts when you walk in this sanctuary and then back out into the world? Mr. Rogers, one of my personal favorite reverends, once said, "We live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my child, it's not my community, it's not my world, it's not my problem. But by way of virtues, humility, and spiritual practice, we know that truth is found not in that mystical escapism of those things, right? It's not in the love and light and white dress flowing in the wind of delusion, but it's a deep engagement with reality in practice, 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 and then practice some more in community. And of course, there's challenges and there's rewards. There's so much found in this mystical yet practical approach to Christianity taught by the mythical Mama herself. But it can be hard. And every day we have to choose our hard. What's harder, being in a spiritual community or in a community without spirit? The choice is yours. So before we head into meditation, I just want to offer an invite to you as a congregation to reflect on your own inner divine spark. What are you nurturing? What are you leaning into? What are you practicing, and who are you practicing it with? How are your daily affirmations right now? How's your prayer life? How's your positive actions? That's what I'd like you to contemplate as we move into this time of meditation. So just find your meditative posture and begin to breathe. Nice cleansing breaths. I'll offer you a prayer from this morning's new member class. As you inhale, repeat these words to yourself. I bless my own knowing. And on the exhale, I invite the Spirit to this path of becoming. Inhale, I bless my own knowing. Exhale, I invite the Spirit to this path of becoming. Feel the weight of your own body grounding you to the earth below. Sense the vastness of the universe stretching out infinitely around you. As you breathe in, envision a warm, golden light filling your lungs, suffusing every cell of your being with divine energy. This light is the presence of God, surrounding you with love, grace, boundless compassion. With each exhale, release any tension, fear, or doubt, allowing them to just dissipate from your being. I invite you to imagine a radiant thread of light extending from your heart. See it as it reaches outwards to your community. Feel the interconnectedness of all creation, as if each heartbeat resonates in harmony with the cosmic symphony of your existence. In this now moment, you transcend the illusion of separation, and you embrace the truth of unity. You are not merely a solitary individual, but a unique expression of the divine. You are woven into the fabric of creation. As you cultivate awareness of your mystical spirit, allow yourself to dissolve into the vast ocean of divine consciousness, boundless in the depth of God's love. With each breath, affirm your oneness with God. I am one with God. God is one with me. I invite you to turn your attention to one person around you, known or unknown. Envision this person as a radiant soul, shining with the light of God's love. As you extend your awareness, feel into your connection. Allow the profound sense of compassion and empathy to well up within you. In this sacred space of unity, there is no room for judgment or division, only acceptance and unconditional love. Embrace this soul with the openness of your heart. recognizing the inherent divinity within each of you. I invite you to take a moment now and offer a prayer for the well-being and happiness of this being. Right now, as a community, we are affirming our commitment to live in harmony and compassion with our fellow travelers on this journey of life. Take a few more deep breaths. As you gradually bring your awareness back to this present moment, don't let go of the profound truth of your oneness with God and with all creation. Let this always be the awareness that guides you as you move through the world with love and grace that you are. Knowing that you too are forever held in this embrace of love and of grace. Take a few moments to settle back into the room. I leave you with nothing more than so it is. Amen.